It was 10 o'clock at night when Yuruma, her hands trembling, took a stone knife and cut the umbilical cord. The baby she had just given birth to was different. She looked into the newborn's eyes, then toward the door of the hut. Outside, the village elders were waiting for an answer. According to tradition, that child was not meant to live. But Yuruma made a decision that would change her son's destiny forever. I am Kanoa, shaman of my tribe. I've lived in this forest for more than 60 moons. And this is the story of Yuruma, a brave indigenous woman who, to save her newborn's life, fled the village in the middle of the night, carrying her 3 young children. Yuruma was only 19 years old. After losing her husband in the jungle, she lived alone with her 2 little boys, Irami, who was 4, and Tupa, who was 3. That night, under the full moon, she felt the pains of childbirth, alone in her hut, far from the main village. She asked to be left alone, saying the spirits wanted it that way. But the truth was she already knew. She knew something wasn't right with her baby. When the child was finally born, after hours of silent pain, Yuruma saw what she had already seen in her dreams. The baby had a mark, a dark mark that our tribe calls the sign of the night forest. A shadowy stain covered half his face. According to the elders, children born like that do not belong to the world of the living. They are said to be children of the night spirits. And by tradition, they must be returned to the earth before sunrise. It was an ancient custom, born from fear, but followed for generations. As soon as the baby was born, Yuruma wrapped him in soft cotton cloth. She looked at her 2 sleeping sons in the corner of the hut and made the most courageous and dangerous decision of her life. She would escape to the village of the Cross Rivers, 20 kilometers through the jungle, at night, alone, with 3 children. Yuruma carefully woke the boys. "Mom, why are we getting up?" asked Rami, rubbing his eyes. "We're going on an important walk," she whispered. "But you must stay quiet, very quiet." The 3-year-old began to cry softly. She lifted him into her arms. The newborn was tied to her chest with palm fibers, the cord still bound with healing leaves. She was bleeding, weak from giving birth. But there was no time. At 10:30, Yuruma slipped out behind the hut, avoiding the central fire where the warriors kept watch. She circled behind the other houses and disappeared into the forest. No one saw her leave. Not yet. The darkness swallowed her completely. Half an hour later, Yuruma realized she had made a mistake. In the dark, she had taken the wrong path. Instead of the dry trail she knew, she was sinking into a swamp. "Mom, my feet are stuck," cried her 4-year-old. "Quiet," she whispered urgently. But it was too late. Bats! A black cloud of bats rose from the nearby trees. The little one started to cry loudly. The newborn woke and began to cry too. And Yuruma was sinking. The mud was up to her knees. She tried to move, sank deeper. She tried to pull her son. He slipped and fell face first into the muck. "Mom!" he shouted, spitting mud. Panic filled her chest. "I'm going to die here. My children will die here." And then she saw it. A faint bluish light moving between the trees. Like a firefly, but larger. The light stopped at the edge of the swamp, then began to move slowly as if showing a path. "Follow the light," a woman's voice whispered in her mind. Yuruma didn't hesitate. Step by step, the light guided her to firmer ground, over ancient roots that formed a natural bridge above the mud. When her feet finally touched dry earth, the light disappeared. But Yuruma whispered into the darkness, "Thank you." It was midnight when she heard it. Footsteps, human footsteps. Behind her, she recognized the rhythm. It was Takuru, a warrior from the village. a skill tracker. The elders must have noticed her escape. "Mom, is someone coming?" asked the older boy. "Yes," she whispered, "and we have to hide. Now." She left the main trail and slipped into the thick brush. Thorns tore her skin, still raw from childbirth. Blood ran down her arms. The 3-year-old held back a cry when a branch struck his face. Yuruma crouched behind a giant fern. She covered the mouths of her children with her hands and waited. Takuru was close, very close. She could hear his breathing, smell the war paint on his skin. He stopped right where she was hiding. "Yuruma," he called softly. "I know you're there." She didn't answer. "The elders sent me to bring you back and the child. You know what must be done." The baby began to stir, about to cry. Yuruma pressed him gently to her chest, humming a faint lullaby. Takuru continued, "If you don't return, I'll have to." Something roared in the jungle. Something big. Takuru spun around, spear in hand. What the hell? The warrior stepped back. Yuruma saw his eyes for the first time, filled with fear. This isn't natural," he whispered. Then he turned and ran, back to the main path. His footsteps faded into the distance. Yuruma waited 5 whole minutes. The roar didn't return. She looked around and saw tracks, huge feline tracks. But they led nowhere. They appeared, then vanished, as if the creature had materialized only to frighten him away. "Thank you," she whispered again, and kept walking. By 1 in the morning, the sky began to rumble. Yuruma looked up. Dark clouds covered the moon. "No, not now," she murmured. But the forest does not listen prayers. The rain began slowly. Then it grew stronger, and soon violent. Within minutes, the ground turned to mud. The path disappeared. Yuruma could barely see a meter ahead. Lightning flashes were the only light. Her 4-year-old screamed in fear. The 3-year-old clung to her, shivering from the cold. The baby was freezing. "No, no, no." Yuruma repeated in despair. She needed to find shelter. But there were no caves, no huts, nothing. A lightning bolt struck a tree just 50 meters away. The tree exploded in flames. Even under the rain, the trunk burned bright. The children screamed in terror. Yuruma threw herself over them, shielding them with her body. "Mom, I'm scared," cried the older boy. "I'm scared too, my son. I'm scared too," she whispered. And then she saw it. Through the storm, a golden light. Soft, steady. It came from behind a group of rocks, as if someone had lit a fire. But that was impossible. It was raining too hard. "Come," whispered the same gentle voice again. Yuruma crawled toward it. Her legs could barely hold her. She was still bleeding from a birth, but she kept moving. When she reached the rocks, there was a cave, small but dry, and inside, a fire that burned without wood, without smoke, only light and warmth. The children ran to it. Yuruma laid the baby near the heat. Then she collapsed, shaking, bleeding, exhausted. "Rest," said the voice. "You still have a long way to go." Yuruma closed her eyes. When she woke up, the storm had passed. The fire was gone, but they were dry, warm, and the baby was breathing peacefully. She looked outside the cave. It was still dark, but the rain had stopped. She looked up at the sky. 2 hours had passed. It was 2:30 in the morning, and she had to keep going. At 3 a.m., Yuruma reached the river she needed to cross to reach the other village. But now it was overflowing. The storm had turned the calm waters into a raging beast. Whole trees were being dragged downstream. Huge rocks rolled beneath the surface, making the water boil. There was no way to cross. "Mom, do we have to go back?" asked a 4-year-old. Tears filled her eyes. She had come so far, survived so much. And now, no, she said firmly, we're not going back. She began walking along the riverbank, searching for anything, a bridge, a shallow crossing, something. She walked 200 meters upstream, then 300, 500, and then she saw it, a giant fallen tree, forming a natural bridge across the river. Yuruma swore that tree hadn't been there 2 days before. Look, Mom, said her 4-year-old, pointing. There's a lady on the tree. She's waving at us. Yuruma didn't see anyone, but she felt it. She knew they weren't alone. Thank you, she whispered for the 3rd time that night. Crossing was terrifying. The trunk was wet, slippery, covered in moss. The raging water roared just inches below. Yuruma went first, carrying the baby. Every step was a prayer. When she reached the other side, she went back, lifted the 3-year-old into her arms, and crossed again. Finally, she held the hand of her eldest. Don't look down. Just look at me. The boy obeyed. Step by step, they were almost across when a jaguar appeared in the brush. On the side they were heading toward, no more than 10 meters away. The children froze. Mom, cried the older one. Yuruma stepped in front of them. She had no weapons, nothing. The jaguar moved closer. Its yellow eyes glowed in the dark, muscles tense, ready to strike. Please, Yuruma whispered, not my children. Please, not my children. The jaguar advanced, opened its jaws, showing massive fangs. And then a figure appeared between Yuruma and the beast, translucent, made of mist and light. A woman, tall with long black hair, wearing ancient ornaments. The jaguar stopped, stepped back, lowered its head, and simply turned and vanished into the jungle. The glowing woman looked at Yuruma, nodded once, and faded into the air. It was her, Mom, whispered the boy, the lady who was waving at us. Yuruma said nothing. She just finished crossing the trunk, fell to her knees on the other side, and gave thanks. It was almost 4 a.m. The next 2 hours were the hardest, not because of danger, but because Yuruma's body was giving out. She had lost too much blood, hadn't eaten in over 12 hours. She had given birth just a few hours earlier. Her feet were torn by thorns and rocks, her skin shredded by branches. Mom, are you okay? The boy asked, holding her hand. Yes, my son, I'm okay. But she wasn't. At 4:30, she collapsed, fell to the ground. Mom, the children cried. The baby began to wail. Yuruma tried to stand. She couldn't. Tried again. Nothing. Her legs no longer responded. I'm not going to make it, she whispered. I tried, but I can't make it. Her sons knelt beside her, crying, and then she felt it. Hands. Soft, firm, feminine hands. Lifting her up, Yuruma opened her eyes. No one was there, but somehow she was standing. And the pain, it was fading. Her legs could move again. Just a little more, whispered the voice. You're almost there. Yuruma picked up the baby, took her sons by the hand, and walked, step by step, meter by meter, until the first rays of sunlight broke through the treetops. It was 5 a.m, and she saw it. Smoke, campfires, the village of the cross rivers, only 500 meters away. We made it, she whispered. My children, we made it. At 5:17 that morning, Yuruma entered the village and collapsed, this time for good. When she woke up, she was lying in a hammock. The village shaman sat beside her. The children? She asked in fear. They're fine, he said softly, eating and playing. And the baby? The shaman smiled. The baby is perfect, strong, healthy. You walked 20 kilometers in 7 hours, he said, alone with 3 children, right after giving birth. But there's something you should know. The trackers followed your footprints, and they found other footprints beside yours, feminine footprints, but they appeared and disappeared. In some places, your footprints were 30 centimeters above the ground, as if someone had been carrying you. Yuruma closed her eyes and smiled. I know who it was, she whispered. The guardian mothers of the forest. They protect those who carry the innocent. And that night, they walked with me. This story happened many moons ago. Today, Yuruma is a respected elder here in the village of the Cross Rivers. Her 3 children grew up strong. The baby born with the mark of the night forest became a powerful healer. They say he has the gift of speaking with spirits. They say the same guardian women who once protected his mother still walk beside him to this day. Some traditions are born from fear, but that night, a mother proved that love can defy even the spirits of the jungle, and the forest recognized her courage. Because the Amazon jungle is not only danger, it is also protection for those who deserve it. I am Kanoa, keeper of the mysteries of the night in the Amazon forest. And as long as the jungle breathes, I will keep telling her stories. Stories she whispers only to those who know how to listen. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, and tell me in the comments, do you believe in the guardian spirits of the forest? Would you walk 20 kilometers through the night to save someone you love? The forest listens. The forest watches. The forest never forgets. Until the next moon,